Love it or leave it.
Look, we have some serious business to get you tonight, and yes, I'm talking about the Kirsten Cinema pageant, but most importantly, I'm referring to our next guest, a person who's doing incredible work uplifting and equipping Indigenous people in politics. Please welcome to the stage founder and president of Arizona Native Vote, it's Jaynie Parrish. Thank you for being here. Hi, Jaynie.
Hi. Hey, Arizona.
First of all, who are you and what do you do?
Well, let's start with my clans. You got to know this when you're in Arizona. Yate she Jaynie Parrish in Shia, the Bethlehem the Shle, Ashim Bashishin, na Kaiden the Shiche, Dor Torich in the Chanel. Saying that?
Got it.
I am Jaynie Parrish. Those are my clans in Diné, Navajo Nation. I'm a citizen of Navajo Nation. We got 22 tribes in Arizona. Navajo Nation is one of the largest in the country and in the state. And I run Arizona Native Vote with an incredible team of matriarchs and young people that are, for the last couple years, getting out the vote, checking voter registration status, and winning elections.
I was very excited to have you on the show because everyone understands how close 2020 was, but I don't think people truly understand how important the Native vote in Arizona was to the outcome of the 2020 election.
Yes.
So, in 2020, Biden won Arizona by 0.3%. That was about 10,500 votes, a little bit less. Can you talk about what it took to get that victory and the work that went into turning out voters in the Native tribes?
Sure. Everything. It took everything. In terms of, let me put some numbers. So we're about close to 4% of the population in the state of Arizona. 22 tribes. Again, Navajo Nation is the largest. We also, if you look at the land base in Arizona, our lands are still about the third of the state. So you run into a lot of tribal communities. And the thing is, because we're rural in majority places, although we have a lot of people in the urban Phoenix area, there's still a lot of our folks that are in rural areas with little to no quality of internet, phone, road service, a lot of things. I mean, you're deep res, and so it's really difficult. And the transportation, driving an hour to your polling location is not uncommon, sometimes 30 minutes or more. So there's a lot of barriers, and it doesn't make it easier when we have, how do I put this, racists and people who discriminate against our communities, putting up more and more barriers to make it harder for us to vote. I mean, I can name them on the list, but it's incredibly hard. So what we had to do is we had to get to our local communities working with Indigenous organizers. It's not rocket science. We tried so hard working with the parties and many other structures to say, invest in our communities. We are good voters, invest. And that's simply putting up radio ads, television ads, or even newspaper, because we got tribal media. And there was nothing, radio silence. They wouldn't even hire campaign organizers to work in our communities. So what we had to do is roll up our sleeves like we always do and do it ourselves. And that's what happens in a lot of Indigenous and Black and Brown communities. We have to do it ourselves. No one else is going to do it. So we hired local experts, which are people like Lorraine Coyne, who's matriarch. She didn't even register to vote until she was in her 50s, but she knew it was important. We had Sandra Benali. She was like the best burrito saleswoman in Loop. Everybody knew her. Every week she came back with the highest voter registration numbers because people trusted her and they knew what she was doing. So people like that, and then we match them up with younger folks like Layla Wimberry, who's a graduate, soon-to-be graduate at ASU. And yes, ASU Sun Devils in the house. Thank you, my alma mater. But we match them and they get shit done. They know where to go. They know how to reach people at home visits. We speak our languages to our community members. We are at the flea markets. We are in the places where nobody bothers to go. That's how we were able to collectively win but also just turn voters out. And that was the same thing in 22. I'll let you ask your next question, though.
Well, I wanted to ask about 2022 because there's this huge organizing effort that makes such a big difference in 2020. But then something happens between 2020 and 2022. The Supreme Court issues a ruling that guts parts of the Voting Rights Act. And then all of a sudden in Arizona, there are these new hurdles. And it was a hard job before, but now you're talking about new restrictions like same-day ballot curing, right, for people that maybe are, as you said, an hour away from their polling places. There are new rules about not being able to vote from a different precinct. And so 16, I believe, of the 22 tribes were concentrated in one district that added a Republican county.
That was before redistricting. It was Congressional District 2, and we were the most indigenous district in the whole country. After redistricting, that's no longer the case. And that included a number of tribes in that precinct. And it actually stretched all the way up from the county or state line of Arizona and Utah all the way down here to Maricopa County. It was a huge, vast area. And so trying to cover that for CD2, CD1 at the time, now it's called CD2, that was one. But physical addressing is still such one of the biggest barriers because everybody in tribal lands, we all have P.O. boxes. It's not like going around the corner here in Phoenix and putting down 204 something something Portland. It's actually a lot more complicated. So not only can they not go online, it's not easy for people to say go online and register to vote. There's extra steps involved and so much more like geocoding, and it's a mess. So we have to take time to talk with our people wherever we are.
And one other piece of this, just so people understand, they also made it so that you can't do what was a natural thing to do, which is they made it illegal to help somebody who maybe can't drive to bring the ballot to them, right?
That's right. I mean, and a lot of us are friends and family community members, thankfully, that we can work and operate that way, but there's a lot of folks who may not have that access. And so that was one of the biggest things. Another one, if you've seen recently, is they're trying to take away ballot boxes in our areas. And that is so messed up. I don't know if it can be.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
It's fucked up.
It's
I'm
fucked
going to
up.
say it's fucked up. It's so messed up. They're trying to do things like that. They're trying to put in new voter ID requirements, citizenships. I mean, it's like nonstop.
So that's what the Republicans have been trying to do to disenfranchise Native voters, but you're responding and you're organizing. Now, one of the things we've seen it in places like Georgia, that we've seen it in Pennsylvania, when the community realizes what's happening, when voters come to understand that their vote is so important that someone's trying to take it, it actually it takes more work, and it shouldn't. You shouldn't have to go over these obstacles, but then people do. So can you talk about what's happening in 2023, what you're going to do in 2024, to overcome these barriers that have made this hard job even harder?
Absolutely. Well, we haven't stopped. So that's one of the key things, is a lot of campaigns and groups parachute in. They come in for 2 or 3 months and then they're gone. So there's no consistency. But that's what, again, us as Native-led organizers is what we're doing year-round. We're making sure our people are employed year-round. They're talking to voters, even since May, with Arizona Native Vote, going to as many meetings, public places, saying, hey, do you know about the county elections? Do you know about this? Do you know about checking your voter reg? Let me help you. They are actually out there doing this work now, and that has to be always, not just during an election year. So that's been a key component, but also having people that we're hiring and employing. And so our big goal in 24 is, yes, there's a big, long to get the ballot. But we're trying to key in, especially in our counties, which is Navajo, Apache, and Coconino counties. That's predominantly where we are, is that we are letting people know about how critical the county elections are. Because, we got batshit crazies, like trying to get into these offices. I don't know if you've seen the news about Cochise that just happened. They finally, threw the book at the people that didn't even certify the election yet. So things like this is happening, and we're trying to educate people. Like, you got to know who your county supervisor is, who's your recorder. Even though these are lower level seats, it's critically important. So that's some of the things that our folks are talking to people about. But not only about voting, this is probably one of the best things that our crew does, is they dedicate about 40% of their time giving back to the community, like actually community organizing. So right now it's winter, it just snowed heavy, and people are delivering wood, they're delivering, they have stocks and stew events, they have any elders that need food delivery, they're doing real things in the community to keep those ties strong. So then when it does come to, hey, primary time, general election time, they're gonna have trusted people that know that they've invested in them.
And just so people understand how important this work is going to be, there is a Senate race in Arizona. There are several congressional races in Arizona. The legislature could potentially be flipped. There's an ongoing effort to put abortion access on the ballot. But the process for getting signatures is still going on. Arizona is still living under an ancient abortion law and this 15-week ban. And this organizing is going to help make sure that access to health care is protected.
Absolutely. Every person that contributes in every way to get people informed and to get them to turn out, to get them to see how important it is, because we're still hearing, oh, my vote doesn't matter, this doesn't matter. Or people are even withholding their votes right now because of crazy shit going on with the war. But there's so much more at stake with that. So we have to tell people, you can't sit this out. You can't say, I'm going to withhold my vote, because there's so much more that is here, that is facing us. And this is one thing we always tell our young people too, is remembering the shit Indigenous people have gone through for generations. 500 plus years of bullshit. And we can't stop here. We're just the next generation to carry this on, carry on the fights, because our parents, next year in 2024, it's going to be the 100-year anniversary that we actually became citizens. They would not let us be citizens in our own country until 1924. And we couldn't actually get the right to vote until 1948 to start the process.
Arizona.
Yeah, in Arizona. And of course, 1965 with the rulings. But it's always a hard fought. And so we have to keep fighting. And this is the way that our team has worked and our organization, is that we are just the next fighters carrying on all of this that's been happening in terms of discrimination and racism to keep us out. These systems weren't built for us. They were meant to kill us, to get rid of us, to take the land. We weren't even supposed to be here, but we keep fighting because there's so much more. So I always like to tell people too, yes, this is a shitty year, a shitty 5 years, shitty couple years, but remember, as Indigenous people, we have a 10,000 plus year history in these lands. 10,000 plus years. So even though it's hard right now, there's going to be another 10 plus thousand years that we have to keep going for.
That's a long time. And if you're here tonight and you want to sign, give your signature if you're from Arizona, not New Hampshire, to make sure you get the access, you get that abortion ballot measure on the ballot. ArizonaNativeVote.org.
Stay in touch with us, donate, because every dollar goes back to hiring organizers. But I just want to give a big thank you. Vote Save America, they stepped up when we needed them, 2020, and they're still stepping up now.
That's them. So thank you to everybody here that signs up for Vote Save America. It goes to help organizations like this one.
It's love it or leave it.